We must hold on tight now.
Yes, try to hold the line.
The night was black as ink over the waters near Mombasa, Kenya. The growl of the waves mingled with the shrieking wind, whistling through every crack in Kwame and Omar's weathered wooden boat. Kwame gripped the helm with white-knuckled hands, his eyes straining to pierce the blinding curtain of rain. Beside him, Omar clung to a rope, fighting to stay upright as the vessel lurched wildly in the churning sea. Suddenly, a jagged bolt of lightning ripped across the sky, turning night into day for a fleeting second. In that instant, Kwame caught sight of something bizarre in the ocean, a shape that didn't belong. He shouted over the gale, "Omar, do you see that?" "See what?" Omar yelled back, his voice nearly lost to the storm's fury. Kwame thrust, a finger forward, pointing at a log bobbing among the waves. Another flash lit the scene, and this time they both saw it. A massive male lion, its drenched fur plastered to its frame, clinging to the log like a shipwrecked sailor. Its eyes blazed with a wild, desperate gleam. A lion? In the middle of the sea? Omar's voice trembled, teetering between disbelief and dread. What's happening here? The beast was a paradox, terrifying yet enigmatic. Its sodden mane hung limp, but it still exuded the majesty of a jungle king. A low growl rumbled from its throat, blending with the crash of the waves, a whispered secret begging to be unraveled. Kwame and Omar stood frozen, their gazes locking in shared confusion. What were they supposed to do with this strange creature? Where had it come from? And why was it stranded in the endless ocean? Should they risk saving it or leave it to the storm's mercy? Slowly they edged the boat closer, hearts hammering in their chests, uncertain of what lay ahead. Was this a miracle or a disaster waiting to strike? What happens next? Tune in for the next chapter to unravel the mystery of the lion in the sea. Don't miss a single thrilling moment. Subscribe to the Animal Kisa channel now. The storm raged, on unrelenting, its ferocious waves slamming against Kwame and Omar's boat, as if determined to drag them under. But their focus had shifted, no longer fixed on the frothing whitecaps or the howling wind. Just a few dozen yards away, an impossible sight held them captive. A lion, soaked to the bone, clinging to a floating log, its golden eyes piercing through the torrential rain with a haunting desperation. Kwame, still clutching the helm, leaned forward, squinting through the misty deluge. "Omar, look at it," he said, his voice low but laced with curiosity. "It's not just lost. There's something strange going on." Omar, perched at the bow, shielded his eyes from the downpour and nodded slowly. "I've never heard of a lion swimming in the ocean. Maybe it was abandoned, or escaped from somewhere." Just then, a brilliant flash of lightning split the sky, and in that brief glare Kwame spotted something else drifting near the lion's log, a large chunk of debris, likely from a ship, its surface scarred by seawater, yet etched with odd markings. "Omar, over there," he shouted through the wind. "Shipwreckage." Omar narrowed his eyes, and as another bolt illuminated the night, he saw it. Deep carvings in the wood, symbols that hinted at some shadowy organization, mysterious, menacing. Those markings, they're not from fishermen or regular cargo. "Ships," he muttered, his voice quaking. Kwame's jaw tightened, his mind racing. "I'd bet my life this lion came from an illegal trafficking ship. Maybe it went down in the storm, and this beast is the last one standing, holding on for dear life." He paused, watching the lion's strength fade. But where it's from and why it's here, that's the real question. Omar spun to face Kwame, his hands gripping the boat's rail so hard his knuckles paled. "Kwame, are you seriously thinking of saving it? It's a lion. If it gets on board and turns on us, we're dead in this storm." Kwame didn't answer right away, his eyes locked on the struggling animal. He got Omar's fear. A lion, even weakened, was a predator to be reckoned with. Yet watching it fight the waves, battling to survive, stirred something deep in him. "Omar, look at it," he said, his tone soft but resolute. "It's just trying to live, same as us. If we abandon it, it's done for. Could you live with yourself knowing we left it to drown when it was begging for help?" Omar bit his lip, his gaze flickering between the lion and Kwame. "But what if it wakes up and rips us apart? We've got no weapons, just nets and ropes." Kwame sighed, resting a steady hand on Omar's shoulder. "I'm scared too, believe me, but it's too weak to hurt us. I'm sure of it. We'll be smart about this. Use the net, keep our distance. If it turns ugly, we'll shove it back into the sea. but let's at least give it a shot." Omar stared at him for a long moment, then gave a reluctant nod. "Fine, but if it so much as twitches, I'm tossing it overboard." Kwame flashed a faint smile, clapping Omar's shoulder. "Deal. We've got this." They leapt into action. Kwame grabbed a coil of rope and a wide fishing net, while Omar guided the boat nearer to the lion. Their pulses raced in sync with the pounding waves, adrenaline surging. When they were just a few yards from the log, Kwame cast the net, draping it carefully over the animal's sodden frame. The lion let out a feeble growl, barely audible over the storm's roar. Together, they hauled it in, inch by grueling inch, sweat mingling with the rain streaking down their faces. Each time the lion stirred, Omar flinched, his grip on the rope tightening as if ready to bolt. But Kwame stayed steady, murmuring, "Easy, Omar. We're almost there." At last, after what felt like an eternity of breathless strain, the lion thudded onto the deck. It lay there, panting, its massive body a drenched heap of fur and muscle. Kwame and Omar stepped back, ropes still in hand, watching it warily. But it didn't move, just lay still, a spectral figure in the chaos of the storm. Kwame let out a shaky breath, relief warring with unease. Had they just saved a life, or invited death aboard? And those eerie symbols on the wreckage, what story did they tell? The answers lurked out there, shrouded in the tempest. Stay tuned for the next installment of Kwame, Omar, and the Mysterious Lion's Journey. Subscribe to the Animal Kisa channel to catch every heart-pounding twist. Rain poured down in sheets, cloaking sky and sea in a relentless deluge. Kwame and Omar had just dragged the lion aboard, their muscles aching, their breaths ragged in the humid air. The beast sprawled motionless on the deck, its soaked fur clinging to its frame, its golden eyes half-lidded as if teetering on the edge of oblivion. But their fleeting calm shattered as a hulking black shape loomed through the fog and wailing wind. Kwame shot to his feet, clutching the boat's rail, peering into the murky distance. "Omar, you see that? Something's coming." Omar swiped, rain from his face, straining to make out the silhouette. A lightning strike lit the scene. A massive ship, sleek and black as midnight, devoid of markings. No flag, no name, nothing. It sliced through the waves with eerie silence, bearing down on them like a predator stalking prey. "So what kind of ship is that?" Omar whispered, his voice trembling. "It's not a rescue boat or anything I've ever seen." Kwame's grip tightened, the memory of the strange debris flashing in his mind. "I think it's a poacher's ship. They're here for the lion." A red light blinked from the vessel, pulsing out a Morse code signal. Years at sea had honed Kwame's skills. He decoded it in seconds. "Hand over the lion now." He turned to Omar, his face grim. "They know we've got it. Probably tagged the damn thing with a tracker." Omar swallowed hard, panic flaring in his wide eyes. "So what do we do? Give it to them?" Kwame shook his head, his voice ironclad. "No way. If we hand it over, they'll kill it or sell it off. We saved it, Omar. We're not letting it go now." Before they could strategize, a chilling voice boomed from the ship's loudspeaker, slicing through the storm. "I'm Victor, head of this crew. You've got two options. Surrender the lion immediately or die. I don't repeat myself." Victor's tone was flat, lethal, a promise wrapped in ice. Kwame and Omar locked eyes, hearts thundering. This Victor radiated danger, his words a guillotine poised to drop. Kwame took a steadying breath, forcing clarity through the fear. "We can't give it up. I'll steer us away. There's a reef nearby. They won't risk following us through it." Omar nodded, though terror clung to him like the rain. "Okay, but move fast, Kwame. They're gaining." Kwame yanked the helm hard, the boat's engine snarling as it tore through the water toward the jagged reef. Their small craft could weave through the tight channels between the coral teeth. Victor's hulking ship couldn't. It was their only edge, but Victor wasn't about to let them slip away. As Kwame's boat surged forward, he barked through the speaker. "Chase them, fire warning shots." A barrage of gunfire erupted, bullets whistling past their heads, kicking up sprays of foam where they hit the water. Omar yelped, dropping to the deck. "They're shooting, Kwame. We're finished." Kwame gritted his teeth, eyes glued to the reef ahead. "Hold it together, they're bluffing. If they kill us, they lose the lion." He hoped he was right, but each shot rattled his nerves, his hands trembling on the wheel. Then the lion stirred. Its golden eyes snapped wide and it rose, shaky but fierce. A earth-shaking roar tore from its chest, drowning out the gunfire, the waves, everything. It was a battle cry, a surge of raw defiance that ignited something in Kwame and... Omar. Kwame grinned through the chaos, adrenaline flooding his veins. "It's rooting for us, Omar. We're not done yet." Omar, still quaking, nodded and clutched the rope tighter, steadying the boat. With masterful precision, Kwame threaded the vessel through the reef's narrow gaps, seawater exploding over the sides, drenching them both. Victor's ship, for all its power, faltered in the perilous maze, forced to slow as the distance stretched between them. But Victor wasn't finished. He ordered a final shot, aimed straight at their hull. The E. Bullet grazed the wood, carving a long gash. Kwame flinched, but no one was hit. The lion roared again, louder, fiercer. A challenge hurled across the waves. From the deck of the black ship, Victor caught the sound, a deep, guttural roar that sliced through the salty air. His eyes narrowed, blazing with fury. "This beast! It's no ordinary creature," he muttered, his knuckles whitening as he gripped the railing. Yet for all his rage, he could only stand there, powerless, watching Kwame's boat slip away, vanishing behind the jagged reefs. Kwame and Omar let out shaky breaths of relief as the truth sank in. Their pursuers were gone. Their small vessel had darted into the treacherous reef zone, a maze where Victor's hulking ship couldn't follow. Omar collapsed onto the deck, clutching his chest. "We made it, at least for now." Kwame gave a curt nod, but his gaze stayed, troubled, fixed on the horizon. "Victor won't quit. We've got to get this lion to safety, maybe the mainland, but time's running out and I'm not sure we've got enough of it." The lion padded closer to Kwame, its massive head dipping low, those golden eyes locked onto his, shimmering with something unspoken, almost alive with intent. Kwame rested, a hand on its head, feeling the heat radiating through its sodden fur. "We'll make it, won't we?" he whispered, a quiet pact between man and beast. But out there, cloaked in the thick fog, Victor's ship loomed, a silent, ghostly threat that refused to fade. This was no end. It was just the beginning of their war. The sea roared beneath them, a restless beast of its own. But Kwame and Omar couldn't afford to pause. Fresh off Victor's chase, their rickety boat now bobbed amid perilous reefs. Waves slammed into the weathered wooden hull, each crash threatening to splinter it apart. Above, black clouds churned, the wind's eerie wail signaling a storm bigger than they'd ever faced barreling their way. Omar's face tightened with urgency as he fumbled the radio from his jacket. "We need help, Kwame. I'm calling Dr. Amina. She's a wildlife expert in Mombasa. She could get this lion back to the forest." Kwame nodded, his hands steady on the helm. "Make it quick, Omar. If that storm hits before we dock, the boat and the lion won't stand a chance." Omar flipped the radio on, static buzzing before Dr. Amina's warm voice cut through. "Omar, you okay? You sound rattled." "Dr. Amina, we're stranded at sea with a lion we saved from poachers. We're being hunted, and a monster storm's closing in. We need to get it to the wild near Mombasa. Can you help?" Omar's words tumbled out, barely steady. A pause hung heavy on the line before she answered. "A lion at sea, that's insane, but fine. Head for Watamu Beach. I'll get the conservation team there to meet you. Move fast. That storm's hours away at best." Omar exhaled, glancing at Kwame. "Watamu. We've got to reach it before everything goes to hell." But hope was a fragile thing. The wind surged, whipping up waves like walls of water that smashed against the boat, spilling over the sides. The lion, bound tight, lay still on the deck, its golden eyes flaring with every lightning bolt that tore across the sky. Kwame felt the unease thick in the air. He spun to Omar, yelling over the gale, "Hold on, we can't let it die out here." The boat lurched through the chaos, wood groaning under the strain, the wind's shrieks a deafening chorus. Omar clung to the rail, praying silently they'd see Watamu before the storm devoured them. After a brutal journey, Watamu Beach glimmered ahead. The waves eased as they neared shore, but the spark of hope in Kwame and Omar's chests snuffed out fast. A speedboat burst from behind a massive rock, cutting off their path. Victor. Kwame's grip on the helm turned to iron, his stare cold as steel. "He doesn't give up. How'd he find us?" Omar shivered, clutching the radio like it held the key. "Maybe he tapped our signal." "Kwame, what now?" Victor stood tall on his deck, gun gleaming, a wicked grin splitting his face. "Kwame, Omar, you're good runners. But the chase ends here. Give me the lion or I'll blast your boat to bits. Kwame rose, unshaken. You've got no claim to it. It belongs in the wild, not auctioned off to your rich scum. Victor's laugh was sharp and cruel as he waved his men forward. 3 thugs leapt aboard, armed with knives and guns. Omar ducked low, heart hammering, but Kwame stood firm, locking eyes with Victor. You want a fight? Bring it. You're not taking it without blood. Victor stepped closer, his glare venomous. I don't care about easy, I just want the lion. He nodded to a henchman who moved toward the bound beast. Then came a roar that shook the world. The lion, sparked by danger, tore free of its ropes with raw power. Its muscled frame launched forward, and before the thug could blink, claws ripped into his shoulder. He screamed, crashing to the deck, blood pooling red on the wood. The others froze, guns trembling in their hands. But Kwame and Omar pounced. Kwame's fist dropped one man flat. Omar's kick sent a blade skittering. The lion turned, snarling at Victor, who staggered back, gun shaking. He wouldn't shoot. Killing it would trash his prize. You bastards, he bellowed. But Kwame and Omar were already in the water, stroking hard for shore. The lion leapt after them, its mighty paws churning the waves, reaching the sand in triumph. Victor watched from his boat, fury twisting his face as his quarry slipped free. On Watamu's shore, Kwame and Omar gasped, drenched and battered, but alive. The lion stood beside them, wet fur clinging to its frame yet radiating majesty. Kwame shot Omar a tired grin. We did it. Now we get it to the wild. Omar nodded, eyes flicking to the sea. Victor's not done. We've got to stay sharp. Stay. Tuned to see if Kwame and Omar can guide their lion to safety. No time to rest. Victor's ambush at the coast was too close a call. The beach wasn't safe anymore. They had to get the lion to the wilderness near Mombasa before he struck again. Exhausted but unbroken, the lion at their side, they plunged inland, trading the ocean's roar for the eerie hush of a deadly swamp. It was another realm entirely, murky waters, clinging mud, the air thick with rot. Gnarled roots twisted up from the earth, a natural maze rigged with peril. Kwame took point, his keen eyes hunting for a path. Omar trailed, one hand on the lion's lead, the other steadying himself with a stick. The lion moved slow, its golden, pain-streaked with grime, but those eyes still blazed, sensing freedom just beyond reach. Legs shaking from fatigue, it pressed on, a fallen king clawing back his crown. They slogged through knee-deep muck, the slosh of mud blending with their ragged breaths. Kwame's hand shot up, halting them. Watch it, he hissed, nodding toward a pair of crocodile eyes glinting on the surface. They held still, breath caught until it sank, leaving only ripples. We go around, Kwame said, voice low and sure. They swung to a tighter trail, less mud, more roots. Then Kwame stopped short, spotting stakes in the ground, linked by faint wires. Traps, he growled, crouching to check. Victor's one step ahead. To be continued. Will they outsmart Victor's snares and claim the lion's freedom? With a dry branch in hand, Kwame deftly triggered each trap. A net plummeted from the canopy, an arrow whizzed from the underbrush, but thanks to his quick wits, every danger missed its mark. Omar watched, sweat trickling down his brow. He won't give up, he said, his voice quivering. Then neither will we, Kwame replied, rising to his feet and pressing onward. After hours of slogging through the swamp, they finally stepped onto solid ground. Before them loomed a dense forest, its interlocking trees forming an endless wall of green. The air was fresher here, but the sounds of the wild, chirping birds, howling monkeys, rustling leaves, kept them on edge, a constant reminder that danger still lurked. Kwame hacked at obstructing branches with his machete, while Omar supported the lion over rough patches. The creature now leaned heavily on them, each step a monumental effort. They reached a small river cutting across their path, and Kwame paused to assess it. The current surged fiercely, the far bank nearly 30 feet away. We can't ford it with him, Omar said, anxiety lacing his words. He's too weak. Kwame scanned their surroundings and spotted a fallen log spanning the river, a natural bridge. We'll use this, he decided. He stepped onto it first, testing its strength, then beckoned Omar and the lion to follow. The lion moved cautiously, claws digging into the bark for balance. As they neared the other side, the log trembled violently. Move! Kwame shouted. They lunged forward, reaching safety just as the log snapped in two, crashing into the raging waters below. That was too close, Omar panted, clutching his chest. But before they could catch their breath, distant sounds erupted, rapid footsteps and shouting voices. Victor and his henchmen were closing in. Kwame yanked Omar to his feet. "Run!" They bolted through the forest, the lion suddenly summoning a burst of strength, charging ahead with powerful strides. As the sun dipped below the horizon, they emerged at the forest's edge, where a vast savanna unfurled before them. Under a blazing red sunset, the savanna glowed like a masterpiece. Golden grass swayed in the breeze. Distant antelope grazed. Leisurely, Kwame and Omar stood atop a small hill, the lion at their side, its eyes gleaming as it gazed toward the horizon. "This is its home," Kwame said, his voice warm and steady. He untied the rope from the lion's neck, setting it fully free. The beast stretched, muscles rippling beneath its golden coat, reclaiming its innate power. The lion turned to them. Its deep amber eyes shone with gratitude, a silent farewell. It stepped forward, nuzzling Kwame's hand, then Omar's, a gentle, meaningful gesture. Then, head held high, it unleashed a roar that echoed across the plains, a declaration of its reclaimed freedom. Without hesitation, it bounded down the hill, mane flowing like a victorious banner. Its silhouette melded into the twilight, until only the wind rustling the grass remained. Omar stood speechless, tears streaming down his cheeks. "We set a king free," he whispered, voice thick with emotion. He wiped his eyes, but the tears kept falling, as if purging the hardships they'd endured alongside the lion. Kwame rested a hand on his friend's shoulder, saying nothing, his gaze reflecting pride tinged with sorrow. They'd bonded with the lion through peril, and now as it departed, a void settled in their hearts. As darkness cloaked the savannah, the first stars twinkled overhead. Kwame and Omar lingered, staring where the lion had vanished, silently wishing it a life as fierce as its spirit. But deep in the forest, Victor hadn't surrendered. He stood there, eyes blazing with hatred, hand gripping his gun. He'd lost this round, but he vowed to return, and when he did, Kwame and Omar would pay. Their journey wasn't over. Stay tuned for the next chapter. 5 years had passed since Kwame and Omar freed the lion from Victor, the ruthless poacher. Their lives had settled into a quiet rhythm, like the calm sea at dawn. The two fishermen resumed their trade along Mombasa's coast, where steady waves carried the ocean's salty tang. They often regaled village children with the lion's tale, a legend of bravery, and the wondrous bond between man and nature. Yet beneath it all, a nagging feeling lingered. Evil hadn't fully retreated. One late afternoon, as the sunset painted the sea crimson, Kwame and Omar hauled nets aboard after a long day's work. A gentle breeze carried the cries of circling gulls. Then from the horizon, a large ship emerged, its dark silhouette slicing through the fading light. Omar paused, squinting. "Kwame, you see that? It's no fishing boat." Kwame dropped the net, standing tall, eyes sharp. "Victor," he murmured, a mix of shock and dread in his tone. "He's back." The ship drew closer, and a towering figure stepped onto the deck. Victor, his face harsher than ever, eyes burning with unrelenting malice. He hefted a hunting rifle, its barrel glinting in the dusk. "Kwame, Omar," his voice cut through the air, cold as a winter gale. "Did you think you could live peacefully after stealing my greatest prize? For 5 years I've hunted you. Now you'll pay." Before they could react, a smaller boat sped from the ship, carrying 4 burly henchmen, weapons in hand. Kwame lunged, but a brutal punch to his gut dropped him. Omar shouted, only to be swiftly overpowered, his wrists and ankles bound with coarse rope. Victor boarded their boat, his heavy boots cracking the wooden deck. "No second chances," he snarled. "I'll make you beg for death." They were dragged onto the smaller craft and ferried toward shore, where a thick jungle awaited. Victor had a vicious revenge planned, and this time he'd let nothing stand in his way. Night deepened, a silver moon piercing the forest canopy, casting light on Kwame and Omar's pale faces. They were lashed to massive trees, limbs numb from tight ropes. Victor loomed before them, stroking his rifle, a wicked grin twisting his lips. "You ruined my reputation," he said, his voice a low, menacing growl. "That lion was worth thousands, and you let it go like it was nothing. Now what? No one's coming for you." His men guffawed, one brandishing a knife that gleamed under the moonlight. Kwame clenched his jaw, eyes defiant despite the despair gnawing at him. Omar whispered, "We did the right thing, Kwame. No regrets, whatever happens." But then, a sound rumbled from the forest's depths, a deep, powerful roar like thunder shaking the night. Victor froze, gripping his gun. "What's that?" he barked, whipping around toward the darkness. The roar grew closer, joined by frantic rustling and pounding footsteps. Suddenly, a colossal figure burst from the shadows, the lion Kwame and Omar had saved, now fully grown, its thick mane billowing. In the wind, behind it charged a pride of 5, their eyes like blazing torches, fangs bared in lethal promise. "Shoot! Kill them!" Victor screamed, but before his men could act, the lead lion pounced, claws slashing through the air, felling one in an instant. Its roar drowned out their panicked cries. The pride surged forward lightning fast, tearing into the henchmen like ragdolls. Kwame and Omar stared, hearts pounding at the spectacle. The lead lion faced Victor, its amber eyes aflame. Victor raised his rifle, hands shaking, but the shot veered wide, grazing the lion's shoulder. Enraged, it roared and swatted the gun from his grasp with a mighty paw, sending it skittering across the ground. Victor collapsed, face ashen. "No, impossible," he stammered, scrambling back, but the lion towered over him, a claw resting lightly on his chest. A final warning. The remaining henchmen fled, their terrified screams fading into the night. The lion turned to Kwame and Omar, approaching slowly. Kwame met its gaze, whispering, "Thank you for coming back." The beast lowered its head, delicately severing their bonds with precise bites. Freed, they felt its warm breath as it nuzzled Omar's hand, emitting a soft, rumbling purr, greeting from an old friend. Omar threw his arms around Kwame, tears streaking his face. "It remembered us, Kwame. After all these years, it remembered." The lead lion lifted its head, issuing a gentle roar, then guided its pride back into the forest's embrace. Victor lay crumpled, eyes vacant, his spirit broken. Kwame and Omar watched the pride vanish into the shadows. They knew that though this danger had passed, their bond with the lion would forever define them, a testament to courage and friendship transcending all boundaries. The tale of the lion at sea is one of valor, camaraderie, and the extraordinary connection between humanity and the wild. What do you think of this ending? Will Kwame and Omar find peace, or will Victor's shadow return to haunt them? Share your thoughts on their journey and the lions in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to Animal Kisa for more gripping wildlife tales. Thanks for joining us.